All right, guys, we're here, Only Roofers, with the one and only roofer, Chris Porosky, with All Face Construction USA. Hey, Chris, welcome.
Glad to be here.
All righty, so to kick things off, we want to talk about you today. How do you like being the star for a little bit?
I don't. I'm not one to really talk about myself.
Oh,
I like to talk a lot, but usually not about myself.
all right.
Wonderful.
What about your business?
Yeah, I like to talk about the business.
All right, so good, perfect.
That we can do.
That's what we're here for.
Yep.
We can make you nice and uncomfortable. That sounds fun
And
to
if
me.
it's roofing, I'm comfortable.
All right, good, perfect.
So let's actually talk about that. What made you get started in roofing?
Oh, so I was a certified general contractor. I was doing hurricane windows and doors. Hurricane Wilma came through, which was great for the window and door business too. And all of a sudden, a bunch of guys rented the house right beside me, and they're out there partying one night and loud and like, "Hey, come have a drink with us. What's the celebration?" Like, "Oh, we just sold $1 million roof, made $100,000 commission." I was like, "Really?" I was like, "Oh, I've always been pretty good at sales." They're like, "You should try this out." I was like, I was running my own business with the windows and doors. I had time. I was like, "Yeah, I'd like to check it out." And basically, they were storm chasers from Texas. Came in, taught me the storm game, which was great.
Wow.
When it came time to get paid commissions, the horror stories you hear in the industry was, "Oh, the job didn't cap enough, this, that, didn't make enough money, cut all the commissions."
Mm-hmm.
The one guy I was pretty close with, I was like, "How is that right? I sold this thing at $1,600 a square. And this is 2006."
Right.
And he's like, "Yeah, I don't know. The owner always does that. I'm sorry, this and that." Come to find out, they weren't even licensed in Florida. I didn't know any better back then. They were
Right.
storm chasers, were coming in, this and that. So anyways, I asked the one guy, I said, "Look, I'm already a GC." I said, "I'll go get my roofing license then." I said, you know the business good enough to do it on our own?" "Yep." And he wanted to bring his brother in as well. And we brought in a money guy at the time. And so there was 4 of us. And just like that, overnight, we were in business.
So you went from being a window and door guy, and then sounds like what, a month, 2 months, 3 months, became the roofer.
Yep,
Yeah, listen,
pretty much.
life comes at you fast.
Pretty much. I learned quick. I'm those guys. I like to be hands-on. I'll never ask anybody. Don't do anything I haven't done myself. So the first couple of jobs that I sold, I actually said, "Hey, I want to work with the crew. I want to learn it inside out," and I did. I helped tear off. I helped do all. I helped install it, and I did. I feel like I learned it from the ground up.
Gotcha.
So, and then I love sales. I've always loved sales. I love the psychology of sales. And I just felt like I was able to take it to another level.
What do you say? I think that's an interesting question about people who are going to start a company and get partners right away. What happened with those partners? Are you still with them?
Nope. Probably would never take on a partner again. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm older now. I'm smarter now. In that case, 2 of them were just young, had never made a lot of money in their life before, and I think it got the best of them. One became an alcoholic. The other probably became a drug addict.
Wow.
And then one guy I think he became a drug addict too.
Wow.
And so I ended up, me and the one guy bought 2 of them out, and then eventually
You bought the
me
last.
and the other guy parted ways.
Part of ways.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep, and we went our own ways.
Yeah, I think that's a really common thing in today's industry is like one guy who's really good at sales and one guy who's really good at production like end up teaming up. And one thing I've learned is they're not always good long-standing relationships. It always seems like it was just like
I think with choosing partners, I've had a partner around for 12 years, and I've come to learn that that's rare than anything else.
Yeah.
And the way we operate in general is a little bit different, right? We're super vocal, like what people think we're in a heated argument, and we're just talking,
Yeah.
right? And I think it's sort of that where you both bring something to the table and respect what the other person brings to the table, and not so much ask more of that person to do more. It's like, this is what he's good at, this is what I'm good at, and if we work together. But when you're in the early stages of a business, you're really thinking that, right? You're thinking like,
Well, and if you agree on everything, then what do you need a partner for? You need to disagree, but you
Correct.
need to respect each other's
correct,
sides.
and be open-minded to opinions.
Yep.
I'm very not open-minded to opinions. So I've no, truthfully, I'm very not open-minded to a lot of opinions, because a lot of times I think I'm the smartest person in the room, and a lot of times that's a bad thing. So I've come to understand that I need to let them do their thing. Well, you want to try it that way? Try it that way. If it works, then I was wrong, and it's wonderful. I'm happy to be wrong if it worked. And then it's easier to have that conversation of, hey, let's try it this way now, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to force my opinion. I don't have to. I'm not very argumentative. If I feel like it's we're gonna get one swing at this bat at it, then sure, I'm gonna step up for my opinion. But it's that kind of relationship that's always hard to find, and then it's hard to know what they are when everyone's easygoing when there's no money on the table.
Yeah.
Right, when there's no money on the table, it's easy conversation.
Yeah, and also in the early stages in a partnership, a lot of times it's more sweat equity than anything.
100%.
So you want to make sure that when it comes to the sweat equity part, everybody's like
Equal.
everything's black and white, like
And
you're
equal.
on the same page.
Right, like you're putting in 100% effort, right, and he's clocking out at 5
Yeah.
and going to drink a beer.
Right.
Right, like I get 9 to 5 was stressful, but now that our office people aren't talking to us and so on and so forth,
Yeah.
5 to 10 o'clock, we
As
can
an owner,
focus on
there's
growth.
no set hours.
No,
There's no
100%.
set hours.
And
What does your day look like now? Actually, now that you've been around the block a couple years, what are your hours now?
Oh, I'm still crazy. I go in at 7:30. I usually leave at 7:30.
Wow.
But that's because I choose to. I like it. You know, I enjoy it. I'm wearing many hats these days. You know, we have a solar division now. We have a metal manufacturing division now. We just got our last month our own Miami-Dade NOAs for metal roofing. So we're looking at
Wow.
ourselves. So
Congratulations.
we're selling
Props
it to other
to you.
roofers
There
as
you
well.
that's
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah, so
Well, how long did that take?
it's a process. A lot longer than I thought. You know, I
A
thought it
year,
was going to be
too?
up and running 6 months ago.
Oh, so
It just takes time.
It's
you
a
know,
couple year
it's
process.
Paperwork and the
And I'm sure
cities
what's it
and-
called didn't help. COVID didn't help that.
No,
No.
it didn't. So
Right.
Everything took longer
you
with
know,
paperwork wise.
Even if it didn't really need to, they just
even the
decide-
equipment, from when I ordered the equipment, 3 to 4 months delivery took 8 to 9 months. you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everything got pushed back. So
How did COVID really affect you guys last year, or did it not really affect you too much?
I think it helped. You know, in the big scheme of things, I think it helped. You know, it forced us to go more virtual, to get more into the
love
Zoom.
virtual.
The Zoom consultations. I mean, our solar division now, the people don't have to leave their home.
Wow.
You know, or the salespeople.
So
they
it
can do all
made
through
you
Zoom.
figure out ways to move business faster.
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Consumers were more open to it.
Yeah, they
Right.
wanted
It was. I think businesses were always willing to do it.
Yep.
It was more you were basically doing it the way they were doing it because consumers weren't open to it.
Yep.
But with COVID, that flipped instantly.
And people were stuck in their homes, and so now they wanted to put money into their homes and fix them
they
up.
saw it every day.
You know,
Yeah. 100%.
So I think the business picked up a little, even though on the manufacturing side and supply side they got way behind and still are way behind.
Right.
But I think the business picked up because of it, and it made us evolve more into more savvy tech people.
What would be then, what would you say your biggest 3 takeaways from learning all these new virtual tools and having now new knowledge that maybe knowledge you already had but you weren't applying? Now that you've been applying this a couple months, what would you say was your biggest takeaways?
So we were never a one-time close type of company. We'd go out, inspect, go back. It would take us a couple of days to build the proposal, go back in and do it. Now we're the one type close. Not when I say one type close, we're not pushy or anything like that.
Yeah.
But we have the ability to start from scratch, do the inspection, have everything built online. The Eagle View's plugged in. It's already taken our take off. We built out our CRM to where the salespeople can just put in their quantities and it's going to give them their price, and they can literally build a proposal with the customer right in front of them.
That's one thing that I really say about one-time closes. It's not necessarily that you have to be pushy or an aggressive salesperson. You have to have more tools, resources, and education available on that first appointment than anyone else.
I think
And-
in one-time sale, it's not even you have to think non-sale and think information.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's a lot easier to close on a one-time in a one-time meeting when you're not selling and you're just informing.
Yep, and that's what it is. We have that motto in our company. We say our best customer is an educated customer. And that's our goal, to take them through the education and give them all the options of a good, better, best, and then help them go and then see what fits within their budget.
Just informing. I'm like, hey, this is my service. This is what I do. This is how we can help you. Here's the price. If you want it, great. Think about it. I always say, after I try to sell somebody, especially when it comes to something with a price, it's here, and I want you to think about this, right? And they're taken back, right? Because they're not used to it. Here's the price. Want to sign?
Right.
Right. That's where it gets hard. It's here's the price. Think about it. I don't need an answer right now. They're like, oh, no, but I'm ready to go. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, no, pretty much. That's 100%. What do you think for yourself now that we're talking about that, being able to close on a one-stop, having your customers more educated? How do you think that leverages you against your competition? And do you have competition? I think that's a big controversial thing. I don't have competition. We all do.
So I'll give you a perfect example. When we implemented this, one of my sales guys came in. He says, I went in there and I closed that sale tonight, And they told me they had 2 more roofers lined up to come behind me. She said, and they canceled them both, and they signed with me. And I said, see, had you not done that and had to go back, build your proposal, someone else may have been a better salesperson than you or whatever. They might have closed the business and you wouldn't have got that shot. I said, so just being able to go in prepared like that, someone's ready, they're ready. And they were able to basically get the sale, and the people canceled even the other appointments.
Yeah. No, I as a PA, I've been a lot of homes, tried selling them on using our services, and it always comes down to when they're shopping is how much percentage I'm charging, right?
Yep.
And I always tell them like, well, I have somebody to do it for 10, so then why'd you call me? Right? I'm in your house. You called me because you looked us up. You saw what we can do. I charge 20%, right? Like that's how much I charge. For like in the moment, it's like, well, so then use them. I have no problem with using them. Like I have no like, but I offer a better service if you're willing to
take that approach. They want you more.
Yeah, exactly. Like when you
well, what makes you so confident? Like,
I mean, like I just know what service we can offer, and this is the thing. If you feel once you have that confidence in your own price, you're not questioning yourself. Like, well, maybe 20% is too much. Maybe I should charge you. Then they got you. Then they're already beating you up. They're like, well,
yeah, no, you got to know your value. Yep.
Yeah, and like going in there confidently and prepared, it's a game changer.
Yep.
So how do you set standards for yourself and for your team? Especially you implemented all these new tools. I think that's something a lot of contractors struggle with. They have all these ideas, but then they're like, why can't I get my team on board? Well, how'd you get that buy-in?
So you got to lead from the top. I was very bad at that. I was asking people, hey, do it this way, do it this way, do it this way, but I wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
And so everybody kind of half-assed it, Once I started doing it and I did do it and I got good at it, because I've always been that type. I can kind of hear it or see it one time and pick it up and make it my own. Then I started doing it, and we started doing the role-playing and the trainings with it, and everybody realized, okay, yeah. Then they started doing it. So still comes from the top, But
lead from the top. How? When was the day that you sat your butt down to and did exactly what you were asking them to do, and how did you feel in that moment? Do you recall it or?
So they used to role play and stuff, and then I would go in there one night and role play with them, and I could do our systems and what we had done. We do the Rodney Webb system. I would at night, I would sit there and I would watch it and I'd listen to the videos and I'd drive and I'd listen to it, and then all of a sudden I'd go in there and I'd role play with them, and I was closing them, my own salespeople, and whatever. And I see this stuff works, and they're like, it made them buy in, and then they started doing it. And you can see as soon as we started those role playing sessions and practicing a lot, the closing percentages just skyrocketed.
So getting them practice outside of the house. It's not practicing when you're in, so you're going to fail and now you're super down yourself. It's practicing just like a baseball pitcher would or anybody else.
Practice before you go play in the real game.
Yeah.
Yep. And practice. And I've heard every objection there ever is, so I'd throw it at them. I said, trust me, guys, this is harder than when you're going to be in front of a customer.
Yeah, if you could do it here, you could do it there.
I said, I'm going to give you everything I've ever heard. I said, you're probably not going to hear half of these objections.
What's the best one you've ever heard?
Oh, the best one I've ever heard? I was trying to sell a stone-coated steel metal roof once, and the guy, I remember he says, there's absolutely, he says, what if the house catches fire? The fire department won't be able to cut through it. And I was like, well, you've heard of the jaws of life? They cut people out of cars. The car doors are a lot thicker than a metal roof. It was weird. He was stuck on that. The HOA wanted to do this stone-coated steel roof through the whole community.
And he was worried the firefighters won't be able to cut him out of the roof.
He didn't want it because he was worried the firefighters wouldn't get in there, and what's the 1% chance of that even?
Yeah, but even then, like if it was,
and they can cut through that,
right? Because otherwise they wouldn't approve it as a material.
Yeah. So it was easy. I had to find a firefighter friend and get him to explain it to him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's how you did.
No way.
Yep. I said, look, there's no problem. He says, yeah, we cut through car doors all the time. It's called the jaws of life. He said, we do the same thing through the roof. It's easier to cut through than a tile roof.
Yeah, I would think actually.
Yeah.
Creative objections.
Yeah.
That's
probably the
creative
That's probably the one that.
That's most creative as a homeowner or a proproperty owner, like to come up with like the firefighters won't be able to cut me out of my roof. Like so, like who would think that way?
Yeah.
Probably an old man.
Do you think that getting more coaching, whether that was through your audios, listening to the Rodney Webb system, made you a better coach? Because essentially that's what you did.
Absolutely. I still listen to it. I drive to it. I don't ever listen to music on the radio. I've always got either a podcast on or some courses or an Audible. I mean, I use that time, and people go crazy when they're in the car with me because I always put the speed on 2.25. So I'm talking like this and I reading like that, and I was like, oh, but I can get more in than that way.
2.25, that's pretty fast.
It depends on how the author speaks.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because I do 1.5 to 2.
Yeah.
2.5 stars to get pretty fast.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's how my head goes anyway. So to me, it's perfect speed.
I gotcha.
We gotta talk to him at 2.5. Let's
Yeah.
I
go.
get a lot more books that way.
I have a buddy of mine who sends me voice notes, and I can't listen to him at 1. I have to put it up. Like, I don't send me a voice note if it's like I'm gonna listen to 2 because you talk way too slow. So, what with starting a roofing company really sounds like grassroots from where you were. You were doing windows and doors to now doing this 16 years in one market, correct?
Yes.
How did you scale? How did you grow? Can you give us a little background of like the bumps in the road, the trials, the tribulations of scaling a business in South Florida, but in the roofing world?
So I've had some real ups and downs, and I've analyzed that now that I'm older. Like, why wasn't I ever consistent? And I think a lot of it, used to be I had systems in the beginning, but it was all a magnet board and it was all Excel spreadsheets. And then when the technology came along, maybe I adopted one thing, but not the other things, and it got very fragmented, and the system and the process kind of fell away. Some people would use this part of it, some people wouldn't.
It wasn't a cohesive system.
Right.
Gotcha.
It wasn't until I finally sat down, and I'm still doing it. We're still refining it every day. What is our process? What is it to where we actually have finally made a training manual, so if we bring a new person in, hey, this is the first thing you do. This is the second thing you do. This is the third thing you do. I never ever had that probably until the last 2-3 years. And in the last 2-3 years, we've just, skyrocketed again with sales and everything. Through a pandemic.
Yeah. Do you think it has to do with time and place? Meaning it took you 10, 15 years to really refine the process to where it was even be able to be put down on paper? In a training manual like that? I mean, obviously you can do it stage by stage, but...
See, I always had it in my head.
Right.
But I never had it to where I would take it for granted that, okay, I teach someone and they're going to remember how to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
You put it on paper,
that's the way you
it's
operate.
different,
You
right.
thought...
So when I started going to all the roofing conferences and everything, and they talked about systems and processes and what is your process and outlining it, I've done them all. You name it, I've tried them all, and I've been involved in all of them. And I've gotten something great out of all of them.
Right.
People, I don't want to go to that one. You might get something out. You get that one little nugget, it's worth it. So I'm not afraid to go to the conferences and spend money on them.
Even if you get nothing except for validation, not validation on yourself, but like, okay, those are the processes I have involved. Like, that's what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? Okay, then this is working for people. This is work for me as well.
One thing,
and it helped me talking to other owners at those conferences.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, we do this, and this, and they're very. I just realized, wow, they're so structured. And that's why every time I was like, all right, I gotta get more structure.
At what year did you figure that out?
I'm still figuring it out.
Obviously, but like, when do you figure out like, okay, to grow or scale? And maybe you did it for your window and door business, so it was a little bit easier. But like, when did you figure out? At what year did you start to really figure out I need to implement these things to grow?
So it was probably 10 years ago. I knew what I needed to do for the insurance game.
Okay.
Then on this coast, our coast where we're at, we haven't had a storm since.
Right.
So that kind of went away, and it was kind of just figuring out a retail thing. The thing that's impressed me most with a lot of the guys is they can tell you how many times a lead's come from their website, it's come from a door knocker, it's come from that. And I was like, I've never had that. I was like, I couldn't tell you. I'm spending money here, marketing this, marketing that. I said, but I don't know my ROI on that stuff. And so that's what I'm really focusing on now. Is because there isn't insurance work for us at the moment, so we're doing a lot of mainly nothing but retail. So now I'm really trying to hone in on those systems and processes on, I want to know if the phone rings 10 times that, okay, how many sit-downs did we get? How many did we close? And I'm analyzing it all now. Okay,
Metrics.
so we got a sit-down, but they didn't close, and here's why. And now we're doing what we call a debriefing with the salesperson. Okay, well, when you said this, what did they say? And when they said that, what did you say? And we're analyzing. So it's helping everyone in our company get that.
So 5 years in, you started to really figure out I need to set up more systems.
Yeah.
What was it like in those 5 years before that?
Chaotic. I was just go.
Seat of your pants.
Yep. If there's something to learn the hard way, I did it. I did.
I like that one. If someone learned the hard way, you did it.
what do you think for you personally, was it being around other contractors in those shows that made you step out of your own comfort zone? Because I think sometimes we're more scared of ourselves than we are of what can go wrong. Like we're so scared of, blaming ourselves for what's gonna happen. What if I do this? What if I can't pay the bills? What if I make this wrong choice and I grow too quickly? And then you see someone else successfully doing it. It's like, oh well, wait a second.
Where's my misstep?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I'm one of those people. I'm always like, well, if they can do it, I can do it. You know, like the Tony Robbins, like just emulate them, walk like them, talk like them, breathe like them. I mean, I've always done that. I've always taken people. I've always asked successful people too, hey, what do you think makes you different? What do you sets you apart? What makes you successful? How do you feel about that? And then I try to, I want to make myself feel that way. And, I've done that. I love the psychology part of sales. I always have.
So then so then I'll flip your question on people. What do you think makes you different?
Yeah, what makes you successful?
Oh,
I mean, you just got an NOA medal approval from the City of Miami-Dade. Like, come on, like.
So I'll tell you how that came about then.
Yeah.
So here I thought I'm so unorganized and so my business is kind of chaotic. Yet the supplier approached me, one of our major suppliers, and said, "You're one of my most organized contractors out there. You have your shit so together." They're like,
am I
they're
awake?
like, if you made metal, they're like, we would sell it to all the other roofers and we would buy it from you. So I was like, well, I was kind of shocked that they saw me that way. I was like, you think I'm organized? And I was like, because in my mind, I'm not.
I'm an amazing
actor.
actor.
I was like, so I said, well, what's the opportunity? And I said, well, just in this area, in our area, we probably buy $60 million a year. I was like, okay, I'll figure it out. I said, I'll get in the metal business. I said, all right. I said, and how much of that opportunity is there for me? They said, well, as much as you can handle. If you can prove, you can do it. So immediately in looking at what they were doing now and how they were doing it, we just found so many things. I'm like, oh my God, we could do this so much better. And there's ways to lower the costs, and they just had so many inefficiencies in the way they were doing it now.
Because
so
they weren't roofers.
Yeah.
Was that the disconnect? Like it was
know
non-roofers making metal supplies for roofers? Like is your being a roofer bring something different to the table?
No, so on the metal side, I pulled my father in, who worked for the Japanese his whole career and was trained in Kaizen, and like everything's a system and it's so organized and it's a process.
That's
and
amazing.
work that process front to backwards.
So he's made it like
So
efficient as hell.
yeah, so I pulled him out of retirement, which he was happy. He was so bored. He's loving it now. And immediately he's like, no, we'll do it this way and do it this way instead. And he already altered the equipment, and even the equipment guys that came in, they're like, well, wow, we never thought of that, and he's just been there and done that in his career.
Right.
So I think it's a process, It really is. There's a book out there I love. Probably no one's ever read it because it's not really for our industry. It's more for manufacturing. It's called The Goal. But it's great. It's, how do you tear apart your whole system and process or step in at any one of them and continue it? And it's just a great philosophy and a great system. And so we're just getting started. We did our first 6 metal roofs that we've sold right now.
Nice.
That we're doing, and now we've brought on our first 2 other roofers that I'm kind of mentoring and helping. They're guys that are fairly new on this coast and in the business, and I like that. I like to teach. I said, here, I'll help you guys. No problem doing it. So I'm doing their first roofs for them turnkey, and I'm going to help train them and their guys.
So they buy your product.
And then they'll buy the product from me ultimately.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So do you see yourself now that you've developed all of these skills, being able to build processes, follow processes, train people on them, build other people up, coach people through it, develop new products, launch another company that's not directly, operating with the same staff as the one you have now, creating more opportunities within your industry? Do you see yourself becoming more of that coach with your metal resources?
So
or what do you see
I'm
yourself?
studying now to take the NASCLA. The NASCLA will get me licensed in 13 other states.
Yes.
And I'm doing that because I said, okay, there's my next big thing that I'm going after is the solar farms. Mm-hmm. Yeah, putting solar on a roof is one thing. I want to install it in the field and do those multi-million-dollar projects.
Wow.
So there's a couple of those coming up in our area, and I brought someone in on that who's very experienced in it, but and I'm trying to learn that side of the business. But I want to, as far as solar goes, I want to make it big, and I want to do that in multiple states, and I want to do it for the utility companies.
Yeah, I honestly, what it sounds like to me, and this is, I don't know if you agree, Vince, everything that Chris has said so far is just him recognizing an opportunity, making a plan for it, then taking action, hoping he doesn't screw it up too bad, screwing it up, fixing
being okay
it,
with screwing it up.
opportunity. Like, just keep...
I've screwed up plenty.
Right. No, I think a huge part of business
that's
is
a
being
good part.
I think a huge part is business, any business, but in contract, I think even more so, is understand there's going to be screw ups.
Yeah.
And you learn more from that than
correct.
you do your
But you just want to minimize them and never happen again.
Yep.
Right. So like you minimize them when it happens. Right. Try to control it, control the fire, and then figure out a process and a system for it to make it
Better.
not happen
Yeah.
or better.
Yep.
But really, I think one thing that everybody misses out is recognizing opportunities. Another guy or anybody else, a lot of us, we don't recognize the opportunities we have today. And I'm also very like Chris, I'm always trying to find an opportunity in a way that I can develop myself that also helps build others and also puts my goals, growing them consistently. Because if you're always chasing the same thing, you get so stuck in the rat race, right? And that's what happens to some guys who only do one, type of roofing. Like, for example, they're only going to do residential shingle insurance claims. That's a rat race right there within itself. You're just always going to be, you left the working for someone else rat race and joined the self-employed rat race.
Right.
Which is when you want to step out of. You want to step into that creative, being able to take opportunities.
And I've already planned my exit strategy. I figure it's the best thing and best thing I can do for the people that have helped me build it, my employees. I'm going to eventually turn my company into an employee-owned company.
I love it.
And I'm going to have each one of them invested in the company and earning from the bottom line.
So it's not about selling. It's more about you're making money still, but you're paying back the
making
people.
Money still, and each year I'm going to give away a little more, and I'll phase out so I can go work on some of these bigger things that I want to do.
I like how you just threw your company name in that sentence. I'll phase out.
I'll phase. So
that way the employees hold each other accountable.
No,
everybody.
I've
wants
always
to
liked
see
the
the company
idea
succeed.
because like Publix is a public-owned company, not public-owned, employee-owned company, right?
Yep.
And like I always liked that idea of an employee-owned company. As like you said, it's a little difficult to do and still be building it and running it and so on and so forth. I think like a company like Publix, like a company like to pay back your people once you get to a certain level.
Yeah.
Right? I think like day one, it's very difficult. Right, I think you have to have something established that can produce numbers for people to be worth it for them and worth it for you.
Yep, and all our employees, I mean, they bust their tail for us, and it's great, and I respect every one of them.
So I think I'm really interested in hearing this. Like, do you have an even bigger goal after creating your next big goal in the solar industry? Like, it sounds like you have some pretty wild dreams,
Yeah, because like most people are like, solar, I'm going to put it on roofs. You're like, I'm going to go build farms. Like that was like,
go build
I wasn't
a
ready for
solar
that, I'll be
farm.
honest.
So
I wasn't ready either.
So a buddy of mine started selling solar in California, 4 roofs, and same thing. He recognized the opportunity. He saw a hole in that other market, and guys couldn't do it as good. And he's now himself collected enough equipment to where he can do these solar farms. And he's, in fact, it just came out. He's ranked in the top 10 now, solar contractors in the country. So, I'm partnering up with him on that stuff.
Gotcha. So not going in blind.
Right. No, not going in blind. He first approached me because there's a big project and it was in Florida. So he's like, hey, can I partner up with you and do this under your license? And, he wanted to just pay me to use the license. I was like, no, I'm not interested in that. I said, I want to be in. I said, if I'm going to do it and it's my license, I want to learn it. Mm-hmm. And so then he told me, he says, yeah, listen, that's what I did. He started on roofs. He says, and now he's in the top 10 solar contractors. And that's what he said. He says, you'll never want to put it on a roof again.
That's why I was going to lead my question is like, do you want to put it on roofs or you'll stop doing roofs and do farms?
No, we have the other business.
Right,
I believe in solar. I believe in green. I like it. I like the battery backup. I think that's going to really take off in the next 3 to 4 years as the cost of batteries come down.
Yeah.
I got into it believing, I started with that mindset a year or two ago that 5 years from now, maybe not even that long, maybe 2 years, 3 years from now, if you go in and you can't do the roof and solar, you're going to lose the job to someone who can. Mm-hmm. I think solar's growing that fast and becoming that popular.
Well, also, we see a huge shift in the automotive industry. And one of the things I always tell all of my clients is look at the trends that are happening in other industries because construction is a little slow moving, but it's going to follow those same trends. Yeah. So where you see even Porsche, did you see the new billboard? They have an all-electric car. Yep. So it's like if high-end brands all the way to Tesla, who's now becoming an everyday car in the electric car industry, the same thing's going to happen in the roofing industry. And it's more about looking at the trends that are going to happen in the future and trying to make sure that you're not playing catch-up.
Right.
Because that's when you run a chance of going out of business. But I do believe there's going to be the volume of contractors that there is right now versus what you're going to see in the future is going to be a huge shift. There's not going to be as many.
In our market, every time FP&L loses a customer to solar, how do they make that money back up? Mm-hmm. They're going to have to raise their rates. They already announced over the next 3 years there's going to be a 15% increase.
I feel like I got to start getting solar on my house, to be honest. My electric bill's crazy.
Hey, let's just change it. Only roofing and solar, guys.
Right?
But it finally financially makes sense.
Yes.
If you're paying $350 to the electric company now, and you can put solar on and finance it, and it only costs you $250, but it just makes sense. It's a bill you got to pay anyways.
How does this tie into how do you think metal roofing, because there's a couple trends, right? Mm-hmm. So right now there's a couple contractors I'm working with that only focus on high-end metal installations. I have a couple solar guys.
Who do they buy from? Just kidding.
I'm going to have to, they're
well, now
Canadian.
We know you're a metal manufacturer.
Yeah, now we have the plug. I got you guys. And I feel like that's continuing to grow, first of all, because it's sexy. Like, metal roofs are a lot prettier than shingle. They're more durable. They're overall I personally think that metal roofs are superior.
So if you're putting solar on a roof, metal is the only roof you do not have to put penetrations through it.
Yeah.
So it's better.
It's onto the seam. So
that's
it's much better.
Wow.
I've seen so many solar companies come and go in our market. And when you talk to some of those guys, what happened? And a lot of them shut down and opened new companies. It was all the callbacks that shut them down.
Wow.
Because there's solar guys trying to put penetrations in roofs.
Yeah.
So how do you do that on tile then?
What's that?
How do you do it on tile then?
Well, you can do it. I mean, you got to cut the tile out and you got to go into the trusses. But this is why I'm finding it so easy to sell that now.
Metal.
Hey, who better to put a solar on your roof than a roofer?
Right.
And we'll warranty it as a system for the life of it.
Well, actually, the whole
even if
pipeline,
you didn't put the roof on.
No.
That's
the whole pipeline of the sale, right? So you're selling them a superior roof system. You're not going to have to do any penetrations through the roof system. You're going to be able to clamp the solar on. That's actually a perfect combination of sales. And thank you so much for sharing that. That's actually beautiful. Anybody who's out there.
So, and I got my eyes on it now. It's not as efficient yet, but this technology is catching up. The thin film peel and stick goes right down in between the panels. And they're making custom lengths now.
Wow.
It looks beautiful. I've seen a couple of houses that have it here. Solar, thin film. So it just sticks right down there. That's 220 mile per hour uplift, better than a panel, but it's not as efficient as a panel yet. But that technology is really, really
See, that's the thing. That's the hard part right now with solar, in my opinion, is that like, and this is all technologies. You buy your iPhone today, in 2 years, it's obsolete.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what's going to happen with solar, right? Like, oh, I got mine 2 years ago. Yeah, mine produces twice as much, and I got it today. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's now that's the worry. Like, my worry.
Okay, so here's the counter side to that we use right now. In 2 years, the tax credit's gone. So right now, you're getting a 26% discount. You won't have that in 2 years because it's phasing out.
Fair.
So there's a 26% discount by doing it right now. And in 2 years, FP&L's already announced, 3 years, there'll be a 15% increase. So you will have already paid them more.
So, Chris.
The longer you wait, they're never going to lower
I
rates.
opened the can of worms over here.
They're never going to lower rates.
Are you signing or what,
He
Vince?
he's on a podcast.
Are you signing
He's
or
like
what?
selling me. He's like, not even looking at Elizabeth anymore. Doesn't even think you're here. He sees blood in the water.
You got your contract?
I think like 28.
Oh my God, that's it. You're done. You're buying a new roof today. And
I just put a new roof on.
There's no downside to solar now other than people saying, I don't like the way it looks.
No.
And I think more and more people are accepting it now.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally, now that I'm involved, I think it's sexy. Black on black panels. I love it. We're doing black metal roofs now with black panels. I think it looks great.
Well, I live in the wonderful city of Coral Springs, and so they're very picky about what tile you can use. So I tried using a dark tile, and they were like, no, you have to go lighter. I'm like,
oh, wow.
Punks.
Yeah, Coral Springs is tricky.
So how do you stay ahead of, just as a person, what is your mindset, and how is that really impacted all of these things that you have going on? Because it sounds like you're trying to stay ahead on the opportunity, staying ahead on the industry, putting yourself around the right people. Like, that's a big one. Look at all of these connections that you've made. You're putting yourself into this position where suppliers talking to you, where someone who's now a top 10 solar contractor is reaching out to you too. What is attracting that?
I guess it's energy. I don't know what attracts it. I've always been attracted to it. I love people that have more knowledge than me, picking their brain, learning from them. My own self, I think of what stressed me out 5-10 years ago, and I'm like, that was nothing. How was I stressed then? That is nothing compared to what I put on myself now. I see younger people in my company even doing. They're so stressed out. I'm like, relax. Like, no, you don't get it. And I was like, no, I do. I've been there. Trust me. It's really not that big of a deal. That means you're growing. You're
stress
stretching
management.
yourself.
Okay, stress management. How do you manage stress? That's a good one too.
Oh, I mean, I go to the gym every morning. That gets me in the right frame of mind. I like to go there at 5 a.m. I'm usually planning my day while I'm working out, so I feel like that gets me ahead. I give myself what's the most important thing I got to tackle first, so I'm not wasting a day. Using my CRM now, my calendar, I put everything in there. Obviously it changes on a daily basis, but
good plans go to shit all the time, right?
Right, I don't know. I try to put myself in those opportunities. I try to be around. I read that quote many years ago. You're the equal of the 5 people you hang around most with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
show me your 5 friends, I'll show you your future.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Who you
That's
know
why
who you're
Elizabeth's
with.
my friend.
Yeah, recently, like I've become real close friends with some people that are retired, and I love hanging out with them just because I love hearing their stories. They were business owners at one time. You hear the pitfalls, and then you hear the celebrations, and you learn from all of them. If I can learn from someone else's mistakes, great. Usually I like to make them myself, but it's better if you can learn from someone else's.
Definitely. I mean, it's not the same lesson. It's
Right.
a lesson.
Right.
It's not when you feel it, taste it. Be part of that whole lesson. It's way different. It's internal. It's part of you now, right?
Yep.
I'm not doing that again. When you hear about it, it's like, yeah, but that's how he did it. I sell better than he does, or what? You know what it is? It's like I'm a better salesman. He screwed up. I could do it better. And next thing you know, it's like, okay, maybe he was right. Right, like you may go into it differently because you're prepared, like we talked about before.
Right.
But there's still that moment, like, but I think I'm different. Maybe that's how I think.
Yep.
But like, I think that happens as business owners overall. Like,
or you do change something.
Yeah, you approach it
about
differently.
Right.
The thing we've realized on this podcast is that, apparently Vince is never wrong. Vince is like, oh,
this is
no
a coming out party.
No, Vince is also great. I think it's awesome to have so many different mindsets, and we can all collaborate and create something better, because that's all that is collaboration creates improvement. And that's really the whole goal with Only Roofers, is to create more collaboration where people are not so afraid to be judged, because we're not judgmental people. We're a hot mess. We're just surviving and making it happen.
I made this out yesterday.
So I've got, maybe that's where I'm different too, because I have reached out to other roofers in our market and just say, hey, let's go grab a beer. And it's great when you do that, because you realize everything that's stressing them out. Yeah, I'm going through that too, and sometimes when you're in the same
neighbor.
business and you talk, and then I'm not going to say his name, but I'll bring him on here for you. He's funny. I give him shit all the time. I was like, you're killing the market. You're too low. I said, you could raise your prices and your business would do better. I said, I think you're hurting the market and stuff. And, sometimes he needs to hear it from another roofer, but that's, people are different. His is, he wants to be the lowest guy and win the job every time. It's not how I want to sell. I don't want to be the lowest guy, and I'm willing to lose those jobs if that's all people want.
How do you present yourself at a higher price? I think people who are right now the lowest guy, how do they make that shift? Like, hey, that's it. I'm not going to price myself so low anymore.
This is where I got the best out of Rodney Webb. Rodney Webb said to me, before you can raise your prices, you got to make sure you're giving unbelievable extra value. He says, do you have a full-time project manager? Do you do this? Do you follow up? There was so many more things to do to raise our customer service that I focused on that first. I was like, okay, I'm going to work in the field with the production guys, and we're going to just kill the customer with kindness.
Experience.
We're going to go overboard. We're going to do this. We're going to do. And immediately, now all of a sudden, you're getting the 5-star reviews, and people, oh my God, they did this, that. Now you can raise your prices, because it is costing us a little more to do those things, but people will pay more for that. But now we've got videos of us doing it. And when we walk them through the process, hey, here's how we do it, and this
People
and that.
love service.
They're like, oh, wow, yeah, okay, we want that, And,
people.
so it makes a difference.
People love being catered to. People love it, and they're willing to pay for it.
You can't raise your prices until you provide the exceptional service.
There was an interview of Jeff Bezos a long time ago, like 1998, and they asked him, like, what have you been in 1998? They were larger than any company I own at this point, right? And so they asked him, like, what's different about you? What's your goal here? And he said, I tell my team that we are going to focus on customer experience, and the more we worry about customer experience, make that an amazing like experience for them throughout the process, from purchasing, finding the products, so on and so forth, we will win. People will pay more for it. And you see it manifest now into what America is with Amazon, where they don't even go look for a better price. It gets to me in 2 days and I have it in 3 clicks.
Yep.
I mean, do you think when you go on Amazon, do you go price shopping?
Nope.
No.
Never.
It's there in 2 days.
Yep.
And I click it, 3 clicks. I know what I want. Boom, boom, boom. And sometimes it's not even that. You just talk to your phone and it finds it for you. But, but they've perfected the customer experience, and it sounds like that's what you did. You perfected the customer experience, which then makes you be able to ask for the prices you're asking for. I think that's what we try to do with the roofers. Like, we're trying to give them as much information as they can on their claims, on their cases, so on and so forth. And I think it's the big disconnect that's not talked about.
And I still do it every now and then. I can't call every customer. I like to, and I try to, but I say, hey, was there anything we could have done different to make this experience better for you? And, right down from the sales rep to your production manager. And I love the feedback, and very rarely is it negative. And every now and then I'll get some good suggestions from someone, and I'm going to implement that.
It was good, but it could be better in this way. Right.
Yep.
Or they'll tell you something they liked from someone else. Like, for example, something that I like from one company I saw this week. I mean, I see it all the time, but they did it very differently, is when they send you who's coming to your house, they send you a photo of them with their kids.
Nice.
And I've seen it.
I like that.
I've seen it done a lot of, like, they'll show you the photo in their uniform.
Right.
But this company was like, now we're gonna win their hearts over. Like,
no, that's
they
genius.
put the sales rep.
No, because it makes it more. It gives it a different feeling. Different. Like, okay, yeah, that's right. Oh, no, this guy's like a real. Like, it's not some.
They're not a salesperson now.
They're not a shark. They're not trying to get me. They're human.
Yep.
Humanizes the whole process. Do you find, like, something like 5? I think Liz touched on it. Like, 5 things you would tell a guy. I just got into roofing. I'm gonna start. I've been in a year. I've sold some roofs, so on and so forth. I'm doing minimal amount of thing. What 5 things could you tell me that would help me grow my roofing business?
So I think a lot of guys in the beginning get stuck in a certain path, and they never think about what's the bad stuff that can happen. And when I say that, like, I probably started with a PEO as my insurance back in the day. Your guys really aren't covered under that, and it's until something goes wrong you learn the hard way.
You paid a premium and paying the accident.
Yep. Same thing as, is the person a W-2 employee or are they 1099? And because the IRS sees it a lot different than how you think you're going to see it. And it's learning those rules. And if you would set it up just right from day one, because a lot of guys don't do it right, and then they never get caught. And all of a sudden it can put them out of business.
Because it's retroactive.
Yep.
And they hit.
Yep.
Do you think that's a pass down program? Meaning, like, you were doing windows and doors, and then you went to doing roofs, and you learned from those guys. And if they were doing it wrong, they taught you wrong. Do you think it's because, like, residency for doctors? Do you know the first guy who ever did it?
Yeah.
Why'd they have those long hours? Because he was a cocaine addict.
Yeah, it was probably.
And so now everyone has to. Now they've changed it, but yeah, you have a 24-hour shift. Like, I can't stay awake and be a real doctor for 24 hours.
I was taught wrong. Had someone sat me down and said, okay, this is how you're doing it. This is how you should do it. But if you do get caught, or this does happen, or you have an accident, here's how it's going to affect you.
Right.
And I mean, it could have saved me hundreds of thousands of dollars, over the years.
So it's learning right.
Yep, it's learning right. Like right now, if I have a project manager on any job, they all have their OSHA 30 card. And I want them to understand what has to happen and the safety involved. We're all about safety first now, safety, and we go overboard with it. We even video the crew when the project manager, when he gets there, he videos the crew. Okay, here's the specific dangers of this job. Do you understand? And we make them all agree, on camera, and that goes in our CRM, and we document that now.
Wow.
And because of that, we were able to get a lower premium.
From Excel to videography of
video consent.
Video consent, so if someone ever does get hurt, and let's say there is an OSHA incident,
they can't say they didn't tell me there's a hole in the
they can't say they didn't know or they weren't aware of it. We have that documented. OSHA's probably going to go a lot easier on you. And I've had OSHA show up probably the last 2-3 times. They showed up to my job sites and shook our hands and be like, great job, guys. And I'm like, wow, that's great, and that's the way I want it to always be. We're over 365 days without an injury, on our board, and we put that up there. I don't know what the number is today. I'll have to go look. But we track that now. We make the guys proud of that, and we celebrate that. But why do we do that? We learned the hard way one time, and it's we had a fiberglass ladder, and I guess from being on the ladder rack so often, it wore it down, grinded it away, and the guy was going up the ladder, and it snapped in half, and he got injured. He's okay, but he got injured, and I didn't know that after every 3 years you got to throw a ladder away. I learned that one the hard way.
Wow.
So that's why I said, you know what? I need to learn OSHA more, and I need to do it. So I got all my project managers certified. Now we do everything the way you should. But all it takes is that one accident, Now, if it's one time, you're usually okay. It's not that expensive. You get caught a second time doing something, OSHA is not forgiving. And it can put someone out of business.
Do you think that's a lot with sort of you're early on in your career, you don't know, obviously, but it's hard to say, like, yeah, but, like, I'm willing to take that risk, right? Because, like, I don't have the money to get all my guys certified. I don't have the...
So I said that, and a couple of guys I'm trying to help and coach, and they're saying it too, and I'm like, okay, but you got to phase it out. I know right now you don't want to change overnight. I said, but you got to start implementing it.
You have to create a plan to get there.
One thing that I've learned, and that's because, I've been spending so much of my time now, most of my days spent planning other people's company success. Mm-hmm. That's how now I'm making most of my money, is by creating that, because people now see the value in a plan. And most people are not planners, nor are they organizers. So, but one thing is, if you don't plan for success, you're automatically planning to have more failure. Even if you ultimately do achieve more success, you could have achieved that quicker without as many headaches. You could have done it a lot faster. You could have streamlined it and improved the process instead of fumbling your way through it day by day. So really, and I've learned this right now from organizing. This year alone, we've organized over 75 companies, and the smallest guy to now this guy has been roofing for 25 years, has 9 figures in the roofing industry under his belt. All don't do the same thing. Write a plan.
Yep.
They're like, you have no plan. Like, what are you doing? There's no plan. So if you don't have an action plan, I would say that's the next best step is, okay, you have your system, you have a process you're going to follow. What's your game plan?
And you have to know when to add more staff. There's a big difference going from 0 to 5 million, from 5 to 10 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And liabilities.
Your overhead is totally different. Your liability is
monster,
completely different. And then going from 10 to 15, it's a whole nother game again. And that's the stuff you have to plan for.
And you also are documenting your business model as it stands. Yep. That's another thing that you don't see the value of. At the end of the year, write a report. What did you do this year? How much staff? How many jobs? How many complaints? How many new reviews? What growth did you see? Did you have more vehicles? Get an evaluation of the company. These are things that let's say you're going to invest $5,000 to $7,000 between all of those resources and time and maybe other people. At the end of the day, you have a yearly report for yourself. And that's also when you one day, if anyone does have an exit strategy to sell their business, now they have information to give.
Yeah.
Well, if you ever want to sell it, you got to be able to turn it over turnkey.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, you're never going to sell it.
I always equate these kind of conversations when it comes to these businesses. I don't think revenue really equates to really like the kind of business it is. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is, I see a lot of businesses that make legit money, do millions of dollars in revenue and so on, but I still think they're a hobby, right? What I mean by that is, and I classify, there's businesses and there's hobbies. Hobbies could be doing way more money than the business, but the business is set up to grow, where a hobby is constantly being in the seat of your pants. Right? There is no process. There is no system. You can be great at sales, and so I'm going to sell the crap out of roofs, sell the crap out of solar, sell the crap out of some widget. Doesn't matter, right? Like my brother-in-law sells watches. I believe his business is a little bit of a hobby. Why? Because he's building more process, more so on. But before, it's you sell one watch, you sell another watch. What's the process to sell more watches? What's the process to get more watches? What's the process to, you have none. So you have a hobby. If you take off, nothing happens, right? You haven't built it. So I don't equate revenue to the kind of business. I equate processes, systems.
This is where I tell guys, even if they don't want to scale, maybe they make a certain amount and they're happy with that.
Which is great to know.
Plan your business to scale, because you can't scale without processes.
I was talking to Liz about this the other day. We were talking about like helping companies scale and grow, and I was talking to a buddy of mine, and I said, like, he's like, I don't need to, I'm happy with making a nice living. I'd like to make lots of money, but like I don't need to be a millionaire or whatever, so on and so forth. And he's like, so how do I get to that like medium-sized business? I was like, I have no clue.
Yeah,
still plan to scale,
we were talking.
No, I just don't know how. Like,
how do you build a happy medium company?
Yeah, like medium. I was like, shoot, I never thought about how do I make a medium-sized company. Like, how do I like get to a point and just plateau and sort of stop? Because I think like you're either going up or down. If you plateau for too long, you're going out of business.
And the other thing is that your employees, you're never going to have the best team because they want growth.
Yeah.
As humans, and especially as you attract that younger millennial work field, what's happening is we're more growth oriented. Like one of the studies found that millennials will take less money for more growth opportunities.
100%.
Whereas the older generation, they want money, they want benefits, and they don't care as long as they'll clock in and out, do their job. So if you want to attract millennials and bring more, have more, to choose from, have a bigger labor pool, then you better have some incentives for growth. So that's a really big one there. Just side note for everyone. You go ahead and make sure you have some kind of achievement plan for them.
That's actually a good subject to talk about. To grow a company and grow a roofing company with laborers, like finding and creating a great customer experience, right? Mm-hmm. How'd you do that? How'd you find, because like obviously labor is difficult to always keep. It's hard to, new roofer on the block shows up, needs good laborers, will pay more than you are, and they're constantly moving around.
See, I disagree with that.
Okay, so that's what
requiring those extra things that I talk about for that customer experience, tarping the driveways, protecting the bushes, going overboard. I tell it, hey, I'm going to pay you more, but that has to be done.
Right. If
it's not done, then no, then I'm paying you back to this rate. You want to be paid top dollar, I pay you this. And my subs, I still have the same crew. It's been with me since 2005 when I started. One of them. He's with me the whole time. Now I have other ones that we keep them busy enough. They don't want to go work for anyone else. And I give my project managers the ability to, here's what we budgeted for the job. If you come in under budget, you can bonus the crew. You can take a little extra, every now and then. Okay, let it come in, rate at budget. Sometimes you need to ask the crew to, hey guys, can you help us out? Take a little less here, but you better return that favor and give them more. Sometimes they're very difficult jobs, so we want to pay them more. Sometimes they're real easy jobs, but sometimes it helps to pay them more on the easy jobs.
Right.
So
thanks for the layup.
The feedback that we get, and we try to do the once a month barbecue for our subs.
Nice.
That's really good. It does. But that's where we're getting feedback. Hey, what could we do different? Now, they usually don't want to say anything, but I think they appreciate that we ask,
Yeah, I think
they do.
Oh, no, Spanish, Chris?
No.
I can understand. That's why he gets no answers.
No, but I can have someone translate.
I'm just kidding.
Enough to entiende de español.
She doesn't speak Spanish. She says she does, but it's gringo Spanish. I've heard it.
You know what? That's because I'm from the Carolinas. That's awesome. Well, I think we can all sit here and talk for probably another 3 hours. So I think what we were talking about earlier, and we were saying that Florida within itself is 3 different markets, and maybe even 4 if you count the Keys as a separate own market. Because
it is. Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah,
it's a separate market.
Yeah, so the Keys, you got South Florida, Central, and Northern Florida. I would say. What do you think?
Yes, absolutely.
I would even say there's maybe even another one.
Yeah.
Panhandle compared to North Florida, like Jacksonville.
If you can roof in South Florida, you can roof anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
It's by far some of the strictest codes there are, especially this year now with all the new code changes in the uplift pressures.
Right.
It's crazy now for flat roofing, what you got to do. I mean, I think any and all single plies are now going to go to a rhino bond system. You're going to have to induction weld. It's going to have to be mechanically and fully adhered. It's the only way you're going to meet the uplift pressures. Otherwise,
they're just trying to make roofs never move.
Right. No, I mean, that's the great.
That's what it sounds like.
But that's the great thing now about South Florida, that when hurricanes do come, they don't do near the damage they used to.
Oh, no, for sure. There's a huge difference.
So much better.
Yeah, there's a huge difference of, like, you think about, like, obviously Andrew was a monster storm.
Yep. But we weren't ready for that. We weren't prepared. I don't think Andrew would do near the damage that it did back then.
Right. And listen, roofs.
It was because of Andrew they changed our
Right.
codes.
If it's just wind, a lot of these roofs could hold up. It's everything else that's involved with the hurricane, right? Like the debris throwing. Like, I don't care what the uplifts are. If a tree's flying at your house at 100 miles an hour, it's going to go through it.
Right.
It's going to go through it. I don't really care what material it is. Maybe metal can handle that, depending on how big of a piece of a
not a
wood.
Tree.
Right. That's
still
the thing.
Dent. It's still going to have to be replaced.
I remember after Wilma, I lived in Coral Springs, the only place after FEMA that really considered like catastrophic, and like there was cars cut in half with trees, and but like marketing more, because Elizabeth was telling me a little bit about you love marketing, you like the psychology of the sale you're talking about. Marketing South Florida, or South Florida really is. Do you see or think it's different than the rest of the country as well, or you think like marketing here is the same as anywhere else? Material and code are different, obviously, but
I don't know if marketing's different. The sales process has got to be different. Mm-hmm. There is so much I mean, there's 10 different ways you can install a tile roof here, you know, and the customer doesn't. They didn't go to school to learn how to
Right.
install a roof. So you really have to hold their hand and take them down that education. I mentioned it earlier before we were on camera. I was pissed off this week because I got an HOA that they asked me for a bid. I got a great relationship with a property manager. Showed me one of the other company's bids, very respected company in our area, and they didn't specify any manufacturer, didn't specify what the underlayment was going to be, didn't specify how the tile is going to be attached. And, you know, from going to a nail set tile system to a large patty foam on a $5 million job could be the difference of $1 million.
Right, I get you.
You know, so, you know, I went in.
So it's hard to compete when you don't really know what they're doing.
Right. Well, and if they don't specify it in writing,
Right.
they can they can install the roof any way they want. So, you know, I told them, I said, look, you need a spec written, and you want everyone to bid to the spec. I said, then at least you're getting apples to apples and let the best man win. You know, so they didn't know how to do that. So I helped them. I said, well, look, I'll refer the manufacturer. Let the manufacturer write the spec. You know, they know how the best way to install their tile is. Let them write it. And then you put it out to bid. And, oh, great, thank you, you know, and this and that. But they were almost ready to sign with the other company. And I was like, but you don't know what you're getting.
Was it just based on reputation? Meaning they're a good company, trusted, that's it?
Maybe.
But I think that comes back to what you said before, right? Like after you hit that, what you learned is after you hit a certain level, you could charge more. Right? And they hit a certain level, well, they don't even gotta tell you what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think unfortunately you can get caught in that dichotomy of your own self, right? Like you're above reproach, almost. And like, don't worry, I'm gonna get it done. You're gonna have a roof. You don't have a roof now. I'm gonna put a roof on. It's gonna be wonderful.
Right.
Here's my price.
Yeah.
Look how trusted I am. Right? Am I wrong? I think it's hard to not fall into that, really and truly.
Yeah. No, it's different. So when you talk about the three zones, I agree. The keys is different.
Oh boy.
So talk about metal. The key's mandated. If you replace a roof, doesn't matter if it was shingle or tile
It has to
before,
be
you
tile.
have to go
Has to
back
be
metal now.
Yeah.
Lauderdale just adopted that.
Wow.
Lauderdale only metal?
Lauderhill.
Lauderhill only metal.
Only metal now. If you replace, so it's coming. They're kind of forcing the issue.
Well, especially here because it's South Florida. Like if we haven't gotten a hurricane in a while, but right here in our market. But if we do, it's going to be chaotic. You're talking about we have like this much ground for all of us to share. If things are destroyed, like there's really not much you can go. It's like a very thin, long strip of land.
He's
And
not
with with what metal prices are doing right now, it's almost the same price to use aluminum now versus galvanized. So they're almost neck and neck now. So to put an aluminum roof on, if you live near the ocean, it only makes sense.
What's
anyways.
your joke?
Chris is not going to like what I'm about to say, but I don't want a hurricane.
Oh, you don't want a
No, I
hurricane?
don't want one either. I don't want either. Right now materials are 6 months out.
Yeah.
I think if we get a hurricane, it's going to make it 10 times worse. It's going to drive prices up. They're not going to get insurance companies to come back
You're
to
just going to
Florida.
have pissed off customers.
They already can't get them. You know?
You're just going to have a bunch of pissed off. That's what I think also. It's very
No,
similar.
I don't
didn't
want
think
one.
he was going to
I don't
agree
want
with me.
one. Right. I mean, prices have doubled in the last year.
I told other public adjuster that. I'm like, I don't want a hurricane. He's like, why? I'm like, it's just, I see it differently. Like he's very much on the street.
Next year,
All of
I
the
know.
insurance companies
Let's do
that
it.
left Florida, though, it's all citizens now. If we had a Category 4 now, it could bankrupt our state because it's all citizens. And then if they don't pay,
And
people won't pay their
And
premiums.
they don't reinsure.
It's going to be
Citizens doesn't reinsure.
No, they don't reinsure. It's a state-run program. A hurricane would bankrupt the state right now. I think we don't want it.
Citizens isn't as big as it used to be.
That new insurance law they passed, I think that was to try to attract more insurance companies to come to Florida and write policies.
Yeah.
And now that's
They're reaching because
we already have the highest rates.
Yeah.
Their reasoning.
We have the highest fraud.
I think here's
that's
the
the
thing,
mold, guys.
They've had some of their worst years loss wise, what they consider, and they're still
making good money.
They're still netting as an industry hundreds of billions of dollars a year.
Yeah.
So we're really not talking. They're scared because they just can't. Their profit margins aren't the same here as the other places.
Right.
That's it. All the other stuff is BS. They want to blame it on lawyers. They want to blame it on They want to blame it on PAs. They want to blame it on hurricanes. It's all about their profit margins aren't the same as in Indiana or Georgia or so on. You know what they do in Georgia? They run that state.
Right.
You don't. You like unless your house like burns down, gets destroyed, like sucked out by a tornado, they're not paying you for a roof. I'll give you 3 shingles and have a nice day.
Citizens is famous for denying claims, right? They're very tough. This is part of what we do now. We tell people, hey, you should increase your deductible amount. But if you're going to do that, let's go ahead and let's double strap the trusses. Let's put the caulking in the standing seam with the clips every 6 inches. I mean, let's design it for 220 miles per hour winds. Let's have that category 4, and it's not going to affect your roof. Now, something could go through it, that's different, but it's not going to blow off. So I'm already out there telling people, hey, you get better uplift with metal. It won't come off as a panel, but it might take the whole roof off. So let's add the straps to the trusses, and you're going to get discounts for that. So, typically the odds of needing an insurance policy are a lot less then. So,
Citizens, when I first got into this, was the biggest player in South Florida, right? Because outside of South Florida, they're really not around too much. Right. They're really...
No, it's a Florida State program.
Right. No, I know that, but I'm saying they're not in Orlando as much. Right. So, yes, Florida State, but Orlando, there's other insurers that would do
They're
it.
in the high velocity hurricane zone.
Basically.
Yep.
And so what I think Citizens really should do is only stick to wind-only policies, right? They should not be doing homeowner stuff because that's tons of their liability, right, every day in and day out. And the other insurers are not scared of insuring it. They're scared of East of 95 doing wind stuff. So do wind-only. That's one.
Right.
Two is they don't have the same exposure as they did 09, 10, 11, all those years. They probably have a quarter of the kind of policies they had. I mean, they sold a ton to Universal, FedNet, a lot of the companies that Heritage, right? All those companies popped out of nowhere by just buying Citizens policies, right? So I don't know if it will bankrupt the state, to be fair, to have that kind of conversation. I think it would definitely hurt the state if it was a big storm that hit South Florida. Then it just depends on where, right? If it hits Palm Beach and Broward, I don't know if it would be such a horrible hit because I think there's more. I think they have less policies. Miami-Dade, you can get a lot of. But again, they've also been collecting. You said they haven't had a storm for how long?
It's been 12 years on this coast.
Correct. So how much reserves do they have? Billions.
Well, but they got whacked on the other side of the state.
The Panhandle.
But Panhandle didn't have so many.
Well,
states.
no, Naples.
No, Naples actually. Citizens isn't really over there too much.
Well, sure, they will be now.
Yeah, it may cause Citizens to get large again, but I think one storm won't kill them. A second storm could.
They got to have reinsurance. I don't know what they're doing on that part. They got to have good reinsurance.
Well, the problem is they created a monster. That's what happened.
Right.
They created to be an insurance of last resort.
There's just not enough. We used to have 20 insurance companies in South Florida. You're down to 4 now that'll write wind policies, basically.
Well,
I really appreciate you coming on.
No, thank you.
You guys giving a lot of information for both. I think both for me and Elizabeth, getting a little back end idea of what's going on.
I could go 5 hours talking roofing.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk forever also. So I didn't talk till I was 3 and haven't shut up since. So, but I really appreciate you on. It's our first episode. It was great having you.
I'm glad to be here.
I couldn't have picked a better first guest. This is awesome.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think I definitely want to have you back. You want to see what you're gonna bring to the industry, what you're making happen, how the supplier deal is gonna go through. We want to stay tuned. Episode 2 just featuring Chris.
All right, thanks, guys.
Appreciate
it.
Thanks. Well, it was a really great episode of Only Roofers. We had Chris Porosky on. He was really informational, really great information for both new guys to veterans about processes, systems, things that have helped him grow and scale his business. And we really look forward to having him on again in due time. Really hope that you guys, send us a message, see about coming on the show. Love to hear your point of views. Every person's story is different.
Or any questions you might have for Chris. Please feel free to send us a message or, shoot a comment here below and we'll be able to answer those for you as well.
Really appreciate it, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks. Bye.